welcome back to the Unwritten Earth Symposium podcast. Friends, listeners, neighbors, fellow practitioners, and all are welcome here in the symposium. I am here with my good friend, Epidai Ravishal.
And I'm here with my good friend, Nathan Paoletta. And we're going to talk about sailing. And we talked about sailing last episode.
We did talk about sailing last episode. I have no updates. I have not worked on that game.
It was productive, though. Coming out of the last episode, I was telling people about that game, like in my personal life, just talking to people about it, that, you know, sometimes you talk about an episode and sometimes you don't. It's not a reflection of how good or bad an episode is. It's just,
I mean, they're all bangers.
Sometimes, yeah. But sometimes it's got the kind of legs where you're like, hey, let me tell you about sailing.
Yeah. No, I definitely am. That was a very productive conversation for that, because I am excited to continue to actually sketch that game out and do some work on it. And then in our plus expenses, we talked about the other thing that I'm working on and how I have a title for it now. And now now that I have a visual representation of what that title is going to be, that is driving my desire to redo all of the play sheets.
Yeah.
And do everything.
That interplay between like what the game will look like, you know, the form it will take. I want to say it's physical form, but it's not always physical, right? Like it's an electronic document, you know, like, or whatever. But like that form, like once you hit on that, the way it turns back on the design that you're doing in ways, I love it.
That's always I'm always like ricocheting between like usually the sheet design. Like, okay, so, you know, for most of these truly true role-playing games, the interface, right, is your character sheet or your play sheet, whatever. Right. You have, for many of them, you have some kind of representation on the table of the thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think spending a disproportionate amount of time on that versus like writing clear text or something like that is probably worth it. Like if you have to sacrifice one,
right,
I'll happily take some typos or some unclear explanatory text in the book over like a really good sheet, right? Because 90% of the time, the people who are playing your game are just looking at the sheet, and maybe like one person or two are using the book as a reference.
Like it's all compromises, right? Like everything needs. You can't have a perfect thing. I'm sorry if I
speak for yourself.
If I'm the one informing you of that, but you know, like it's important to have a cover that draws people in, because if nobody's drawn in by the cover, how do they discover your game, right? There are ways, but like, you know, it's that sort of thing. And yeah, the character sheet can really, or a play sheet or whatever, can really have an effect on just how people watching the you do the layout for our annual. Is like, it's not only is it like things change based on like starting to realize, it's got to take a form, you know, like that's a, you know,
right, it has to be also something, like it can't be nothing. So if it's going to be something, then you start having to make choices about what that is actually going to be.
Yeah, but also it's so invigorating, I have to say. Like every time I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the thing I'm working on, this is exciting. Which is, you know, I can maintain a certain level of enthusiasm for my own games, but like at a point, if I don't have an end, something to grab onto, to like think about what it would be like to want to buy this, want to play this, like to it's not that I always lose interest, but it's just like it's harder to maintain, you know, like
yeah when you're mid process, it's definitely helpful to have like a different thing come in that is like, oh, here's something I haven't been doing that clarifies. Like when, you know, from my end, because you've been doing a lot of the actual text writing, when you're like, okay, you know, here's some more finished stuff, and I get to like read it and see what the actual, this is what the actual thing is. I've been working on the form, on like the shell, you know, like the look and feel stuff at this phase in our process. And then I'm like, oh, right, there's something here. And that's the exciting part that I get to see that I haven't seen for like a couple weeks. And then it's like, oh, this sounds like a fun thing to play.
Yeah. This is, I think this gets into like a thing that you and I are discovering, right? As we're working together, and we're like, again, I can't speak for everyone, but I'm not used to that back and forth too much. Like I we have colleagues, we could talk to them about our games and things like that.
Or if you're like if you're doing something like work for hire and it's like maybe you're working with an editor or something like that,
right?
And there is some feedback there, but it's still a little bit of there's a little bit more of a handoff. You're like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah. And you can get feedback in like play tests or just designing in public, posting about it and people responding or whatever. But there's this thing here that like I'm still learning to rely upon that is really great, which is like Escrow of the Damned was, I think, the first scenario I pitched for the annual, the last scenario written for the annual, the one that changed the most from beginning to end. And there are just certain moments where it changed, where I was like fitfully writing things and I'm like, nothing's gelling. And then we do like one of our co-working sessions on the Discord, shout out to the Discord. And we're like, we discovered that we could label the approaches thrilling, chilling, and spilling. And then suddenly things start exploding in the back of my head. Those are great moments. Like being able to like, to not have to just sit and stew over a problem, like to just be like, oh yeah, let's just talk to someone else.
Yeah, who's equally invested, but at a different stage of the process, or doing a different part of it. Yeah, for sure. That's kind of so this is turning into a bit of a meta conversation about our show, which is fine. Here we are. Part of the original pitch, I guess, that I had for you about like, hey, maybe we should work together,
right,
was kind of looking for like having a more consistent creative partner, right? Both for the creative part, both for what's a thing we could make, but also just for like having that dependable accountability, I guess, like there's things I'm doing and there's things you're doing, and we both need to do them. And then I think something that we're discovering, or at least that I'm discovering, is that that's great. It's kind of like, I don't know what I'm trying to articulate here. Something like we're still figuring out what we want our things to be, right? Like we have some like stuff from our previous catalog that we're bringing in. We have some projects that are essentially bringing some of our older projects, into the world. I think it's not a secret. We've started posting about it. After we're done with the annual, it's going to be the season of Swords, and we are aiming to bring Swords Without Master into its ultimate form as a standalone game, coming early 2026. Keep an eye out. Come play Swords with us. # Season of Swords. But that's a different beast than the annual, where it's been a total blank slate. What do we want to do and how do we want to do it? And just having that like back and forth of I'm doing this thing and I'm in it and I don't really know what the other part of it looks like yet. And then we sync up and check in and go like, oh, this is very exciting. I'm excited to continue working on this now because there's a new thing that I hadn't been thinking about for the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
That's fun. It's a fun part. Like I'm really glad that that's how that's the cadence we've ended up with, and it's like fun. It's good. Yeah. I'm pro.
I've been sharing on social media advice that I'm getting from books written for recorder players. The first one was it was talking about like doing some exercise, and it says try it until it is fun, which that's exquisite advice for so many things. Like that is the learning process.
Yeah.
But the other one, I can't recall it off the top of my head, but it was like something along the lines of like just basically sort of the opposite side of that, saying if you're in a rut or like if things aren't working, stop, take a rest, come at it from a different angle. And it's basically said something like, nobody ever improved their technique by getting bored and repeating their mistakes. And I was like, and I think that like this is part of why, like, because you and I, we have this podcast that we do. We do this. We record about every 2 weeks, roughly. Yeah, but we also, but we meet once a week for like just a meeting, a planning meeting or whatever, and then we do our co-working at least once a week. And so we have like 2 to 3 check-ins in the week. And that's actually been when we can. Like, obviously, we also have, lives are busy. Whatever. The point is, 2 to 3 check-ins a week has been great because it's just been like, I got this far. Like I don't I'm not sure that like even just asking questions you start solving the answers in your head. You know what I mean? Like it's
that's what they call
anyways.
it. I only know this from comparing it to how this is not the same as what asking AI for answers is, but rubber ducking is a programming thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which you're probably more equipped to talk about than me, but my understanding is just the idea of like you just have something on your desk, and when you're like, I don't know how to proceed with this, you just talk to it. You talk to the rubber duck, and just the process of going through like your own thoughts and expressing them starts getting you to where you can start solving that problem. And you're even better than a rubber duck is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I first learned that term in a programming forum where I kept going to the programming forum, started typing in my questions, and in the process of typing in the questions, figuring out my answer, and so deleting it before posting it. And then eventually I posted, like, hey, I'm here, I'm lurking, I've come to ask many questions, but you've answered them before I even asked them. And somebody responded with just an emoji of a rubber duck, and I was like, well, that's weird. And then found out about it. And yeah, it's a true phenomenon. Like, it really is like, it's good to have a real live human being to bounce a question off of. Failing that, it's better to have just a rubber duck or a brick to bounce a question off of. It's never good to just bounce it off of an AI. Like that doesn't work.
Yeah, you don't want to talk to something that's just going to lie to you.
Yeah,
that doesn't help you solve your problem. Yeah. Well, so we're feeling pretty good. Yeah, I guess. And I guess that's also a little bit of a, since we're talking about it, the annual is apace. We just posted some previews of the intro spreads to the Kickstarter because all the art is in, and it's really gratifying to see the concept that we had like 6 months ago actually look good. So that's nice. And yeah, the text is, you're finishing up text. I'm finishing up layout. Obviously those two things will need to sync up very soon. Yeah. And then we'll be ready to deliver. We'll be ready to deliver. So when this comes out, we will still have late pledges available on the Kickstarter. So you can check it out, and you can check out that public update and see what it's looking like if you're interested to see what we've been up to. And people can still pledge and get the book, which is now like 90 pages, which is about a third longer than our original estimate, which is good. I think it'll be a nice, like, it's not going to be a tome, but I think it'll have a little more substantial feel when people actually are, flipping through it, which is nice. So that's going to be like 90 pages. And the poster, that is the awesome cover art plus the Perpetual Library map, is only going to be a Kickstarter exclusive. So if you're interested there's some preview pictures of that as well there. So our last ditch effort to say, if you want to get this, that's the best way to do it and help support us. And then after it's out to backers in a month or 6 weeks, depending, then we'll start having it available for general sale. So you can also wait. That's fine too. Yeah. But you can't get the poster that way.
Yes. I'm psyched about the poster. I need to find wall space for it.
That is a problem. It is a big poster.
It's a big poster, and my gaming room, as our audience knows because they can clearly see, I'm in the attic, and so my walls are at 45-degree angles rather than 90-degree angles. So
you could do like sticky tack on all four corners and put it on the slanted ceiling.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we gotta get a dorm room feel going. Yeah, exactly. That's what we need to do. Yeah.
Get a black light, maybe a lava lamp.
Anyways,
we should probably get to the discoveries that we've made in our homework.
Yes. I'm sure you're going to insert the homework here.
Yes, I will in fact insert the last time we talked about our homework here. Take a game that you enjoy, approve of, that has at least some acknowledgments or a ludography or some kind of references to inspirational work. And then pick one of those that I guess, I'm not quite sure where to end it, but it's like, I was thinking like, so pick one that's also in your library and look at those references. And then
go as far back as you can in your own library.
Maybe, go as far back as you can, or go to when you hit one where you're like, oh, I don't remember this game, or I haven't read it, or whatever.
Right.
Like, go until you hit something that feels like a discovery. And we're back.
Yeah. Now, it's been a little while since I remember what the homework was when it was assigned, and we may have gotten it a little different from what you just heard, but this is how I remembered it, and this is how I did it.
This is what we're doing, yeah.
Yeah. I went looking for a game with a ludography in the back, and then from that ludography, went looking for a game with a ludography in the back. From that ludography, went looking for a game. And I followed that 3 deep. So I had like the first game, the second game, and then bottomed out on the third, which is good. I don't know when this one was originally, but how about yourself?
That too was my goal. I did have and I think you mentioned this happening, where I like struck out a bunch before finding a game that did have a ludography, which is, and not, didn't necessarily have to be a formal, like, here are all the games that I'm referencing, but, sometimes it's like a thanks section or a section in the text that's like, this is stuff that's built on this other game. Like, I had a pretty expansive idea, but I still, between, because I was obviously not using any of our games, and then also not looking at games that we've already done for homework. So I'm starting to narrow my library a little bit at this point. And I think I looked through like 3 or 4 titles before I found one that had a ludography. And then in there was a game that was like, oh, I think we should talk about, like, I want to talk about this for homework. So I only went 1 deep.
That's fine.
And also that game, at first I was like, oh, this one clearly will have some references. And then it does, but not to any games. So I was like, well, I'm just going to talk about this game. Like, it was a combo of like, I want to talk about this game, and also it didn't lead me anywhere. So I was like, I'll just stop here, which is fine. That's how it goes sometimes.
Oh, I'm excited to hear. Should we start with yours?
Sure.
I mean, I can go first if you want me to go first.
No, I'll go first.
No, I can go first. No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so the game that I'm not going to talk about, but that led me to my game. Was
your breadcrumb trail.
My breadcrumb trail started with Grey Ranks.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Bully Pulpit, Jason Morningstar joint of the. I was just looking for the date here. It's from 2007. This is a game of the Warsaw Uprising, 1944, where you play child soldiers rising up against Nazi occupation. Great game. If it hasn't crossed your transom, you'll be shocked to hear that Jason Morningstar makes really good historical games.
Yes,
this is among them. And is well sourced, both with historical references and with game references. And one of those was to I was going to say the classic. I don't know if it's actually classic to anyone but me. I consider it fairly classic, but Ron Edwards' Spione, which I believe is how you pronounce that word. Spy in German. Story now in Cold War Berlin. And this has a great set of academic references, but not to any other games in particular, which I think actually makes sense given the project of this book and of the game inside. This was obviously earlier than 2007 since it was referenced in Grey Ranks. I think it's 2000. Well, the copyright is 2007. He was working on it for a while. So it was definitely in the water around this time. So one thing I am having a little trouble about, like the angle to talk about this one.
Right.
The deal is it's a book about Cold War Berlin with a historical scope of like the different eras that covers, because there's kind of different like sub eras within the history of the overall scope of Cold War Berlin. It's kind of like a historical overview. It's also talking about historical processes and the role of espionage and spy, counter spy stuff in Berlin during the Cold War. This is surrounding a game, but the book is not a game. The book is a book, and in the book is a game.
Yeah. It's how many pages you got there?
This guy is like 2 with index 244,
Mm-hmm.
and the game is chapter 6 of a 6-chapter plus appendixes plus index book. So call it 40 pages.
Yeah. I mean, the important thing is that it's not the kind of game that has 100 pages of skills
Right.
talents that you buy for your
So it's interesting, right? Because I think the idea is this is a book that was also part of a project, not the specific project, but a larger like personal project of Ron's to marry his game design interest with his historical interest, and also talk to people in Germany about this history. So like I know like this game ended up I don't know if it was translated into German, but it certainly ended up in bookstores in Germany that are about spy stuff and like historical stuff, but not as a game, as a book. And then it has a game in it.
I mean, there's other traditions that are like that in the hobby. Like that was a way to. Oh man, I might be speaking out of turn here, but there was like fan books of anime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember why, but like they couldn't. It was either more expensive or just wasn't like they didn't like sending them over. But if you were to add a game to it, so it's essentially a guidebook about a certain anime, but then also a game in the back. Then now you have a different product that you can and the target audience there is both people who are interested in the game, but also people who don't care about the game and just want the yeah.
And kind of where I was going with it is also that it's because it's a game embedded in the book. It's not that it's a game with hundreds of pages of history about the game world that you need to know.
Right.
All the rest of the book is reference material for the game because you are playing in that space, like in that historical, like in that fictionalized historical space. So having all this, background information about the dynamics of these different spy agencies is directly relevant for play. However, you don't need to read the book to play the game, and the game doesn't refer to things in the book necessarily. So like it has that kind of interplay going on. The game itself is, I guess, the title of it, for lack of a better term, because the book is called Spione, Story Now in Cold War Berlin, and then the chapter with the game is just called Story Now, I believe. I guess I could look at it because it's right here. Yeah, it's called The Rules of Story Now. And so Story Now is the way that Ron was trying to get at what he was actually trying to say with the term narrativism.
Yes.
I'm happy to have that conversation with anyone who's interested in a different forum. No pun intended. Like why that matters, what that deal is. We can talk. Send me an email. We can talk about it. That's fine. But at a certain point, the actual thing he actually wanted to talk about, he started calling Story Now, and that's the idea that the story that we create as we play happens now. It happens in the moment. It happens as we go through the game procedures and as they drive our decisions. And it's one of those things that's just dissolved into the water. This is just a way that people play now. It's not a thing we need to argue about. But yeah, it's kind of play to find out kind of captures part of it. Like it's kind of that it's in that Venn diagram that includes like the play to find out approach. I don't think it's the same, but it's similar. And then the game itself is written for an audience of non-nerds. And we talk about this a decent amount of like, how much supporting text do you need to give? Who do you think is going to be playing your game? What can you trust them to know? And what do you think you need to provide? And this goes pretty far out to say like, I'm not going to justify anything. Like these are just, it's a game. Here's the rules.
Yeah.
If you're bringing a bunch of, assumptions about how truly true role-playing games work, it might be difficult to square them with how these rules explain themselves, because they don't explain them. It's not written like a game text, really. It's written more procedurally, but it's Ron, so it's very explanatory. And I guess I'm just trying to kind of frame like that the game itself is part of a project that is not pick this up at your local favorite game store and play it with your friends.
Right.
But it is still a game. It is still a role-playing game. Like, for like 100% for sure. It is not like a hybrid activity, really. It is what we think it is when we talk about the games that we like to play. The game itself is weird.
I've played it. It's been a long time since I played it.
I think I played a play test of it.
Yeah, that might be same here.
So high level. So okay, it's basically for like 3 or more players. I guess you could play it with 2. I guess the mechanic really only works with 3, but you could play it with 2, I think, if you really wanted to. The idea is there's going to be 2 spies. You have spies and guys, right? Like, who's your spy? And then the guy is like their cover.
Right.
You know, the person is. And then the spy is like who they work for and, you know, who their handler is and stuff like that. And there's a whole set of profiles. So you like pick your spy and your guy, and they all mix and match. So any of them can be picked with any of them. And that kind of also guides the period that you're going to play in. And the profiles include characters from, American, Russian, British, German, and a couple other intelligence services. So picking your characters kind of drives like the concerns of play, the period, and like which services are going to be, or do we care about? So there's going to be those 2 characters. So each of them is going to have a player in charge of them, playing them, for lack of a better term. And then the other players are going to be kind of, I forget if there's a specific term for them. The other players are basically like everyone else. You don't have to always play your spy. You can hand the spy off if someone else wants to play the spy, like has a thing that they want to do. So there's like a very loose character monogamy. It can move around, but I think it's kind of like most people are just going to want to like play their spy, and the other people are the other players.
And you basically it's up to you to make that decision. If somebody can't say, I just want to play that character and take it from you, or
I think you can be like, hey, I have something I think they should do, basically.
Oh, okay.
The others are playing supporting cast is the language. So there's basically 2 phases. There's 2 different things you're doing when you play. You're doing maneuvers and you're doing flashpoints. Maneuvers are scene-by-scene fictional play. You're bringing up issues. You're bringing in characters. You're playing your character. You're following their agenda, doing what you think they should do. And the other, players are bringing in these supporting cast and doing, bringing in whatever they think should be in these scenes. And then there's flashpoints. When something comes to a head and it must be resolved, something is going to happen that has significant consequences. It becomes a flashpoint. And that's when there's this whole card mechanic for resolving the flashpoint, which is basically a very, I was going to say complicated. I mean, it is complicated. A very procedural way of splitting up who gets to say what happens.
Right.
That over the course of play shifts so that bigger and bigger consequences are going to be kind of demanded by the narration, because it's based on like how many cards end up being stacked on each other and stuff like that. And I guess I slightly misspoke. The time period you play in is a random. I mean, you can pick one, or there's a rule just to draw a card and have that drive what decade you're playing in. What to say? This is one of those games where if I'd played it recently, I would probably talk more about the mechanic, like that card mechanic, because there is some interesting stuff there, but it is a little arcane in a way that makes it feel like a weird spy thing. Like it is a thematic mechanic in that way. You, at the start of the game, you're assigned, I think by random draw, you're assigned a face card. So you end up just, it's not really a rule, but it's like you end up being like, well, I care about aces and you care about queens. So like I'm the ace, you're the queen. Like there's kind of a natural kind of code that happens there, which is kind of fun. There's character creation. So arcane gems.
It's always hard to decide like when I should jump in and be like, what are your arcane gems? Because I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah. Arcane gems. During character creation or character generation, which sounds very templated, which it is, but one part of it is a creative addition, which is before you make your spies and guys, before you make your characters, everyone writes down and I've stolen this from my games, writes down a trespass. And trespasses are, I'll just quote, Privately, each person writes out 2 independent trespasses on separate slips of paper, folds them, and everyone places them anonymously into any single opaque container in the middle of the table. Trespasses are defined as actions which their authors consider morally wrong and which the author or someone personally known to them has really done. This trespass should not involve chemically altered or clinically irresponsible actions, nor should it have been performed by a minor. So there's a little safety rail there for for the content that could potentially come into play. They're private, they're anonymous, and when you make your dossier for the characters, so there's 14 guy sheets, there's 9 spy sheets, so you pick a guy sheet and a spy sheet. You're supposed to staple them together back to back, figure out their deal from like pulling together those 2 sheets. And then, so if there's 4 people, we've each written 2 trespasses. So there's 8 trespasses in in the hat. 2 people are playing spies. You make their characters, and each person pulls out 1 trespass and reads it privately, and then incorporates it into the spy's personal history with any notes that they want. The idea is that you can clip the trespass into the middle of the 2 sheets, so it's still like hidden, but for
fun.
And then you get rid of all the other ones. So the trespasses are adding a critical, in the sense of critique, like something to be critical about, not necessarily important, because they can end up not being important depending on how your game goes, but they end up giving you a moral dimension is the idea, I think, or at least an ethical dimension to the character. And again, the idea of them being anonymous is that you shouldn't necessarily associate the trespass that you end up putting into the fiction with a particular person at the table.
Right.
And there's definitely some language about like thinking about trespasses. But so like the gym there, and this is something that I use for secrets in Annalise. Like I think I stole it directly from Spione, I think, or we might have both stolen it from something else. I don't recall at this stage. But the idea there is, and I think this is still rare. The idea, though, maybe it's not. I'm going off on a thing now. I was going to say maybe not with journaling games. I think journaling games are about this, actually, a lot of them. But the idea of being like, oh, take something that's from the real world. Take something that is a real thing from a real person at this table in particular.
Right. And
have it be part of a character, but in a way that it is going to be relevant to the person playing it, but not necessarily exposed to the rest of the table. And that can really just add a lot of juice. It just adds a lot of juice. Yeah. It's still something that I think could be used, and I think it could be used in lots of different ways. It doesn't have to be used as a thing that's like the trespass or like the secret in Annalise is kind of something that you're trying to keep, or not as something that's hidden and that might be revealed. And it doesn't have to be that necessarily, but I think that dynamic could be used for other things too.
I was going to bring up a very trivial old example of this, which is not in role-playing, but in board games. Back in the era of VHS board game, the board games where you play a VHS along with them. There's a classic called Atmosphere, which is like atmosphere, but instead of sphere at the end, it's fear with an S in front of it. And at the beginning of if I remember correctly, the beginning of the game, you write down your worst fear or a fear that you have on a piece of paper, and everyone puts them all in this thing at the middle of the table. I don't know if it's like a chest or a cauldron or whatever. They're great pieces. The whole thing looks nice. And if you beat the game, the last thing you have to do is draw one of those out. And if it's your fear, you lose. But I remember playing this as a kid because we were like teenagers and putting our actual fears in there. We were just scared that somebody would draw our fear.
Oh, yeah.
And that made for a very tense game. You should just go to YouTube, look up Atmosphere. You could watch some of the VHS, the ghoul that like tells you to stop and asks whose turn is it now and makes them go back 5 paces. Real good, real exciting game. It's fun. It's fun to check out. But anyways, the same sort of thing. Like you drawing from your own life, and because you're doing that, it doesn't necessarily have to be those stakes. It doesn't have to be like, oh, you'll be exposed. Like somebody can blackmail you with this or anything like that. But it just like you're thinning the membrane between you and the story, the character.
And I think it's something that has more effect, is more is more effective, is more like vibrant, the more honest everyone is.
Yeah.
And is less so when you pull back. I mean, obviously, because it's anonymous, you could just write it whatever. You could introduce just an idea you've had or something you've heard of, right? But the rule is something that you've done or that someone else has done. So if you break that rule, it is not as effective.
Yeah, there's a good discussion. I don't know if it's for this episode, but there's a good discussion to have about rules like that are like, here's the rule. The game and the game designer's intent is that you follow it, but we can't force you to. And the only thing that'll happen if you don't is that you won't have the exact experience.
I have one other example of that.
Yeah.
I think there could be a broader discussion, but the other example that jumps to mind is in Dog Eat Dog, which is going to get re-released this year. It's very exciting.
Oh yeah,
as part of the Tim Hutchings driven project to get some older games that are starting to be lost to time back to us, including the Mountain Witch. Anyway, links in the show notes. But Liam Burke, I apologize if I'm not using your correct name, Liam. But Dog Eat Dog, which is a game of like settler colonialism in like Polynesia, essentially. The start of the game, someone plays the colonizers and everyone else plays people who are part of the colonized group. And the rule is everyone says how much they make, like what's their annual income, and whoever makes the most is the colonizer, right? And that's like sharp as hell for Americans, at least.
Yeah.
And so when I played it at like a convention, it was explained this way, but I'm going to go ahead and be the colonizer, like the person, who brought it to the table is like, but I'll go ahead and run it. I'll be the colonizer. We don't need to do that. Which I think was socially appropriate for like a convention setting with strangers.
A bunch of strangers. Yeah.
But it definitely, I could feel the puncture of that tension.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. As soon as we're like, but we're not going to do that. It's a good game. It still works totally fine if you don't do that. But the fact that you haven't done that, like, hangs over the...
Right. There's an asterisk. Next to it. Like, I played the game, but did I?
Yeah. Anyway, so Spione, we should move on to yours. But if you're into Cold War spy stuff, I think you would like it. I feel I'm comfortable saying that. And if you're into weird games, you probably also like it. Definitely influential for me. So
it was in this household. It was influential as well. I never put together the story now because he did a version of Champions called Champions Now, and I bet you that's the same
similar
discussion. Yeah.
I mean,
not the same mechanics.
No.
His Champions Now is drawn more on like classic Champions. I got to make a character for Champions Now. We played one session and then like life got in the way, but like just making that character was so much fun. It's got that point buy thing that Champions does, and anyways, it was a fun experience. But I want to like re-examine it, knowing this story now thing.
Yeah.
All right. My journey, my breadcrumbs. 1 second. I'm actually, because I didn't pull those games out. Let me pull them out. Okay, so I nailed it. First one, I was like, I bet Burning Wheel has. So I went to Burning Wheel.
Yep.
Revised edition. Burning Wheel's bibliography has a games bibliography for the first edition and the revised edition, which is fun. I mean, like that's it was kind of fun to look through those games and see the like gulf between the games that inspired the first edition and the ones that inspired the second edition. Gulf is not the right word, but like just they're definitely two different.
There was a generational shift.
Yeah. And so I didn't do any of the first edition ones because I didn't expect them to have ludographies. But the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Cyberpunk 2020. Marvel Superheroes, Paranoia, Shadowrun, Time Lords from BTRC, which is not a Doctor Who. I just have to like let people know that. And then Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, all of which are games that I've obsessed over at some point in the past. Like that, there's a great list of an era. And then the revised one included My Life with Master. And I happened, like, on the shelf, we don't have an alphabetical shelf, but like within a few inches of Burning Wheel was My Life with Master. So I just picked that one up. I got 2003 My Life with Master, and I just opened up to the back, and there's acknowledgments. And it's a list of a bunch of games, including The Pool, Troll Babe, Hungry, Desperate, and Alone. But the first one on there is Puppet Land by John Tynes. And I was like, oh, let me just go pick up my copy of Puppet Land. I don't have a copy of Puppet Land. What? I don't understand. Right. I was like, I mean, I must have one. And if I don't, Emily certainly has one. And since ours collections have got put together, no. So I went online and I purchased, which is, not necessarily in the spirit of what we do here, but I think it's worth it. I used to own a copy of Puppet Land. I'm almost certain. So, the Puppet Land that I purchased was from 2016, which is 13 years after the game that referenced it.
That's fine. That's the one that I have because they did a Kickstarter for like a new edition or whatever. I forget how it's phrased. If it's a new edition or just like a modernized kind of. Yeah. But yeah, I have that one.
It's a great looking book.
I think I have it because it's referenced in My Life with Master, to be perfectly honest.
Ludographies are good. Yeah. Like, I don't do them because I don't develop good habits. That's not a thing that's not my personality. But I should. The look of the book is very I wish I could recall the name of the artist. Maybe this the actual artist that did it. Anyways, it definitely feels like an era of Vertigo comics.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's perfect for what it is. I'd say, so Puppet Land, you're playing puppets in a world created by a puppet maker who has been slain by Punch. Punch the Maker Killer.
Just real quick, just a point of reference. The original edition was 1995.
Oh, wow. That's even earlier than I expected.
And then on the, at least on the project page, art by Alejandro Turan, Samuel Araya, Raven Mamora, and Hannah Kennedy. So I'm not sure which did the cover, but those are the credited artists.
Yeah. Well, it's got that good collage feel, different textures.
Alejandro Turan, according to the Kickstarter page for the cover.
Yeah, good stuff. So you play puppets. You live in the Puppet Land, which was created by a puppet maker. I've said this. Okay. Some things about the game. I'm just going to go to like a cluster of arcane gems here. One is that every game is played out in an hour. Those are the rules, which is great. Like, there's like talk about how like in the game world that may consist of more or less than an hour, but it's an hour of game time that the players are playing, and specifically the characters are aware of it. So the characters know when a story is coming to a close because the time limit is running out, which is like it does that nice fourth wall breaking thing. You're playing puppets, right? Like,
yep.
Another thing that I really like about it, and this might be I like playing with time limits. I think that's actually a really neat and interesting thing to do. It helps focus people, and it also, like, if you keep them short, like an hour, or even shorter than that, like, yeah, you get it done. You just get it done. Let's get this dirty role playing out of the way. Just finish this role playing task, and we're done. Anyways, but the other one that I think is really quite fun is that everything you say, your character says.
Yeah.
So you can't say, I'm going to try and do this, because that's your character saying that, right? So you kind of have to narrate it like a radio drama or like a puppet show, right? Like you literally are speaking out the things that you do. There's some great examples of like how to make this work. Oh, here's an example of a good versus bad. Like the bad version of it is I pick up the rock and throw it at the nutcracker, and you're being attacked by nutcrackers. The good version is, where's that rock? Here it is. I shall hurl this rock and smash your greedy mouth, nutcracker. Great. It just kind of forces you to like embody the character while also narrating the things that you're doing.
Yeah, I think that like idea of it being closest to a radio play is really you're communicating to your listening audience the things that are happening in the make believe world in a 1-to-1 fashion.
And so you have a I'm guessing puppet master is what they call it, but you have like a game master of some sort. You have attributes that are like, you are this, you are fast, you are slender, you are strong, that kind of thing. And then you have like, you can do this, you cannot do that. And those depend on the kind of puppets you have. Oh, the kind of puppets are great. Not necessarily an arcane gem, but just like you have to decide if you're a finger puppet, a hand puppet, a shadow puppet, or a marionette. And come on, that's just it's exquisite. So and there's like a few other things, but it's not like a whole lot more than that. Like you're basically like you can do these things and you can't do these things. You could do things that you can't. You have like 16 puzzle pieces, which are to some extent, they're not damaged. They're just like, you can lose them if you get hurt, but like generally speaking, but you can also lose them by doing a thing you normally can't do. And then once they're gone, you're done. Mm-hmm. But the other rules are like, everyone goes to bed after an hour, and when they wake up, they're fully healed. Like, that kind of thing and whatnot. But to kind of focus on this arcane gem here for a little bit, I wanted to like kind of talk about two aspects of that. And the first is just, I really dig games that limit your speech. There's some interesting ones out there. There's like there's ones where you're like your Neanderthals or early hominids who have to like create your language as you go. There's also like I've never played dialect, but I know that has to do with your speech and whatnot. I'm showing my ignorance here, but like that's a fun thing. You're playing with an aspect that is vital to role play, right? We have to communicate to role play, and you're playing with that element of it. I'm going to blank on the name of it. It was a game from the early aughts, a tiny book, but I want to say like Inaris.
We've talked about this before. Code of Unaris, where it's for playing online, and there's rules about how many letters you can use in certain words and stuff like that. Yeah.
And you can edit out words that were previously established. So you like someone says the rocks were hot, and you can be like, nope, they're cold. Like because you had a power to do that or whatever. That's all fun. Like I think that's a really neat angle and very fruitful. It's probably a delicate one because it could be onerous, right? Like you could definitely shut down play or frustrate people. But like I think there's still room for experiment there. I think there's things that people can do with it.
There's a lot of there's an element of this in Ars Magica style magic, right?
Right.
You're using different like words, like noun and verb, like that stuff, right? Yeah, you could like use it in a focused way as one part of a game without necessarily having to have the whole game be about like using specific language, etc. Like there's a broad scope to playing with the actual words you actually say.
But the other thing that I just kind of want to like point out here is that between the 1 hour limit and the fact that everything you say is what your character says, this game from the 90s is perfectly crafted for streaming, right? Like game design wise, like I don't know, like no, I mean honestly, perfectly crafted because like who wouldn't want to see you make puppets?
There's a puppet game from this most recent Zine Quest that I got. I'm trying to pull it up real quick. Yeah, no, I agree with you that there's the re-release of it was shortly before streaming became what it is now. It's not, I don't think it's really concerned with that like as a project. But yeah, Sock Puppets, an RPG by Kurt Ref.
Oh yeah.
I have it. I have the book on my nightstand. I have not read it. Like I flipped through it. I haven't like read it yet. But it's a failing children's television series where you make puppets and then you play with your hand puppets as part of play.
That's great.
And it's 60 to 90 minutes, 3 to 6 players. Yeah, kind of so it's kind of in this realm.
Yeah. And I've been lately thinking about that. I think we've talked a little bit about like I just don't have I have some trouble with streaming. Basically I get anxious about watching people play my games.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's great that people have fun playing D&D or watching people play D&D, but I'm not going to watch someone play D&D. Like that's not not a thing that I enjoy as a pastime. But I have watched some streaming that I've enjoyed. I've done streaming that I've enjoyed. And I often wonder about like designing specifically to the parameters of streaming. Yeah, to the medium. And we're now to the point where famous streamers publish games that they've made or have had made, and like are they designed for streaming? Like, but what is designed for streaming? Like if I say, hey, here, I've got a thing, this is what I think streaming would fit inside the box of streaming, and like that's a weird thing for me to say because I don't engage with it the way other people do. So every so often I see things in other games where I'm like, wow, I think that would be really good for streaming. I think that like is a good fit. And I just wanted to say that about Puppet Land.
Yeah.
No, it was a fun dive. I really enjoyed the fact that like the two ludographies were just fun. They reminded me of games that I hadn't thought about in a long time, or pointed me to games, like particularly My Life of Master pointed me to games that I didn't know existed. And then also pointed out that I, at some point, had Puppet Land and don't anymore. Oh, I think I know where it is now.
Oh, yeah.
I think I now know where it is.
Did you just find it?
No, I just realized now that you said that it was from the 90s, I'm like, oh, I think I know the shelf it might be on. Yeah. Not that I organize my shelf by years, but like it's a general vibe. I'm like, oh, these games I got around the same time. There's no organization to my shelves. I think I've established I don't have good habits.
Puppet Land is by John Tynes. I don't remember if we mentioned that, but the text, the basic text, the text of the game as it has been since 1995 is on his website. And so I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well.
Yeah. John Tynes,
very important to the early indie stuff.
Yeah. Right. Involved in like Over the Edge and Armies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly where Power Kill is. So yeah, I probably have just not been looking at this. Is probably sitting right next to Over the Edge on my shelf, and I just wasn't. Well, it's okay. I don't mind throwing a little extra money at him.
I don't know. I mean, I've never met him. I don't know if there's like recent stuff that I just don't know about. But a lot of the soup of the early 2000s stuff is in context of not only stuff like Puppet Land, but like Over the Edge.
The sort of experimental stuff that was coming out. In the 90s.
Unknown Armies, for sure. Feng Shui, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, as we like to do, we'll talk more about how things were 20 years ago.
That's us. All right. Well, what do you think?
I think we're done with this banger of an episode. Two games that we could strain to make some more connections between these two games, I suppose. Both games that are aggressively uninterested in being D&D. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that brings us to our outro, unless you have anything else.
Yeah, our final segment where we leave.
Where we say bye.
No, where we say bye.
Yeah, you can find all of our stuff at unwrittenearths.com, including the link to the Kickstarter page for the Adventurer and Hobbyist Annual 2025 Caught Between Worlds, which we'll be done with soon. There's also links there to the Patreon, where we really appreciate all of your support. Patrons will also be getting copies of the Adventurer and Hobbyist Annual. They, and perhaps you, also get the other podcast we do, Plus Expenses, which comes out every other week between these every other week episodes, which means patrons get 4 epis a month. Right now, you're not a patron, you're only getting 2 epis a month. So just think about that.
Double your epi intake.
Yeah. I know I have. The Unwritten Earth Symposium podcast is by us. Go us. Our music is by Will Yobst. Thank you, Will. Find Will's games over at goodluckpress.co. And so that brings us back to our perennial question. We may have taken a step back on this one, but Epi, have we made a game yet?
No, not yet. I think you're right. I think we've stepped a little back. It's good. Going back to the drawing board.